Well, thanks for joining us today, Richard, on our podcast. Joe and I are really excited to talk to you about what you do at the Vatican and your role there, and also your research in astronomy. And we want to start off the conversation by talking a little bit about the astronomy kind of interest at the Vatican. And so when most people think of the Vatican or they think of the relationship between religion and science, they often think back to their time in high school when they learned about the trials of Galileo back in the day. And then
Yes.
it's often a surprise, I think, to many, including myself, when I learned that there is an observatory that's funded and run by the Vatican in
Vatican.
Rome, and also that they hire several astronomers, including yourself. And so I was kind of hoping you could tell us what the role of what your role is at the Vatican and kind of what the motivation of the church was to start this kind of astronomy department.
Okay. So the church has always been interested in astronomy, right from even before the time of Galileo. So for the last 500 years, at least, the church has been interested in astronomy for a number of reasons. The first being that the heavens was always considered as something which were sacred and the place of God. It's the abode of God. So right from in fact, all cultures and religions in all cultures have a special place for astronomy. Astronomy plays a big role in all of them. But things happen to change about 500, 600 years ago. And then for a very practical reason, and that's because of the expansion to the new worlds. And they are understanding now that they need to systematize how they fix the date of Easter. So generally, the date, if you know any history about this, the date of Easter is generally fixed to the first one of the Sundays after the equinox, the first equinox after the equinox. But there's some complicated algorithm to determine the date of Easter. But at least for the last, so at least till the 1600s, it was actually decided on a year-to-year basis. So you could easily disperse that information out in Europe. But once the world started expanding, you really couldn't phone somebody up and say the date of Easter is going to be on this date. And because they were still following the old Julian calendar, and because of the problems with the Julian calendar, they were actually missing the date of Easter was getting postponed day after day. So they really needed to fix it. So the change really happens about 500, 600 years back for practical reasons. The church has always been interested in astronomy. For practical reasons, they changed. And then they started actively hiring from that time astronomers to fix the calendar of the church. And that involved making very precise observations of the movement of the sun and to try and develop a system. And there was a Jesuit mathematician, Clavius, who used a system developed by an Italian and made it popular. And that's how we have the Gregorian calendar, which we follow till today. And since then, the church has always, in some form or the other, had a form of observatory and has hired astronomers. So, right through the time of Galileo, even after Galileo, contemporaries with Galileo, there were people doing astronomy. So, in this sense, the church has always been interested in astronomy. The Vatican Observatory, as we have it today, was founded in around 1903, 1905. The exact dates I remember. It was founded by Pope Leo the 13th, if I remember right. And it was because the Vatican itself, as a state, was founded around that time. So it's connected with Italian history. There was a reunification of Italy, the Italians took over all the former territories of the Pope, took away his old observatories, which now became Italian observatories, and then the Pope was left without an observatory. And thus this being an intellectual Pope, he wanted an observatory. He founded an observatory, and the Vatican Observatory today is really that observatory which continues from that period. So the founding of the Vatican Observatory today is really an interest of the Church always in astronomy. But its real reason why it was founded was a political reason because of the Italian state taking away the old observatory.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to this podcast episode. This is Michael.
This is Sam.
This is Tommy.
And this is Joe.
If you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave a review. All of the show notes can be found either in the description below or on our website. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next week with more Everything Astronomy.